Madeleine from Slings, and today I'm going to be talking about troubleshooting your ring sling. So there are a couple of things that come up really often that people have struggles with, and I'm going to try and go through them in the video. So these include, sometimes people find that the ring sling is pulling on or hurting their neck, or conversely, or in my case both, conversely it's coming down too far and trapping their arm in so they can't use it. And another really common one is that that the rings come down too far and are overlapping their body and are in an uncomfortable position. And then finally, the final one we're going to talk about is getting a really great seat and how to get that to hold and feel secure. So to talk about all of these, I'm going to start by taking my baby out, because all of these things really start from before you put your baby in. So I'm going to take my baby out. I'm going to start by getting my ring sling really nice and high on my shoulder. Nice and high on my shoulder, and that's key for getting the rings to not, one of the keys for getting the rings to not move down too much. They're going to move down a little bit. They shouldn't move down too much, and I'll show you how to avoid them moving, but one thing is to start nice and high. And then the second thing will be to pull anything loose behind you to the front. So one of the things that can cause the rings to move down is that there's too much slack behind, and then when you tighten, it just yanks down. So pull anything that's loose behind all the way to the front. So we're just dealing with all of the slack at the front to begin with. And now for fixing this shoulder so it doesn't eat your neck or inhibit your arm, this can be really quite dependent. But first of all, I'm going to move the sort of middle stripe of my wrap to the strongest part of my shoulder, which is this bony bit right on the outside here. So by having that bony bit, that's going to give me the best weight distribution, because the heaviest part of the baby will sit on that middle stripe. So we want that to be on the strongest part of my shoulder. And then if it's coming in quite close to my neck, I can just move that part towards the strongest part of my shoulder. And then likewise, this part I can then fold in and up again to that boniest part of my shoulder to keep it more contained. I don't have to do both of them. I can do one or both. Just that's a great way of making this more organized if it's really starting to eat your neck. And so for a lot of people, just pulling it down their shoulder so that that middle part sits on the outside will make a big difference in it not eating their neck. So now I've sorted out my shoulder and I've pulled any slack around to the front. I'm going to check that I don't have too much to work with. I kind of want really just an elbow's worth. I've got a little bit too much, so I'm going to pull a little bit out. Yeah, that looks perfect. And I'm just going to check that my top corresponds to my top and rifle through so all the stripes are in order. Okay, great. And now I'm going to go get my baby. So one of the things that can really pull down the rings is as you put baby in, if they wiggle. Now, babies do wiggle. So start by putting baby in and getting them to wherever is comfortable on you. And then if the rings have moved in that procedure, lift them up and swoosh them back up to that really high position on your shoulder. And then we're going to start spreading it over baby. Now, one of the other things we talked about was not feeling like a secure seat. So in order to get the seat really nice and secure, I'm actually going to save about 1/3 of the wrap at the bottom here, and then I'm going to work on spreading just the rest. And how much you're going to spread depends on the age and stage of your baby. If your baby needs neck support, I'm going to spread all the way to the top of my head and then return. And if they have strong in the neck, just stop at your shoulders. So I'm going to stop there for my baby. And then with the rest, I'm really going to tuck loads up under their bum, get them nice and sat. And you'll notice I've got that whole third just bunched up behind the back of their legs. And that's what's going to help keep that seat. So often when parents are saying they're not getting a secure seat, it's simply that we just don't have enough sitting bunched at their legs. And the other reason sometimes we don't have a secure seat is that actually the temptation is to get this really super tight, but the tighter you get it, the less space there is for it to go under your bum. So we actually don't want to tighten it too much. We want to tighten the top of the carrier loads, but the bottom we actually don't want to tighten too much at all. So how I'm going to get the tightening right on the bottom is I'm going to reach, find anything loose behind me, make sure that's the bit that's tucked, and then anything loose I'm going to put here and literally just take that part out. Now you'll notice as I'm taking that part out, I'm pulling it down to back towards baby's back of baby's knee, so in this direction. And now I'm going to tighten the rest, and the main way I'm going to get these rings not to move is, again, I'm going to take anything loose around baby. If I leave it behind here and I just pull, all that's going to happen is it's going to yank on the rings and move it. So it's really super important to make anything loose come around baby. And then the next thing that is super, super important is to pull it back in the direction it came from. Again, if I pull this down, it's going to put pressure on the rings and move them. Instead, I'm going to pull it back towards my baby's neck. So you can see I'm going to pull this turquoise stripe back towards that turquoise stripe sitting behind baby's neck. And as a result, the rings moved very little. And I'm going to repeat that going down. And each time I'm sort of pulling that stripe back towards its matching stripe, like so. And you can see the rings really only move by that much. If you're getting a lot more ring movement, really have a play with that angle and play with, whilst you're tightening, lifting your baby's bottom and then tightening. So lifting and then tightening. Again, if we aren't supporting their weight pulling down will make it much harder to tighten this, and as a result the rings will move. So to recap, to avoid the rings moving, start with them high, take anything loose from behind, work it around, and then pull back in the direction whilst holding baby's weight. And then you should see a whole lot less movement in the rings. So we have talked about getting this away from our neck and also untrapping our arm by folding. We have talked about how to tighten to avoid the rings to move, and how to ensure baby has a really secure seat. These are the most common things I get questions about, that people worry about, so hopefully this will help you troubleshoot your ring sling. If you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments below and I can make more videos if needed. And as ever, if this has been helpful, please do like and subscribe. All the best. Bye.